Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. and Monday, February 25th, 2019, and we will call the Beavercreek Township Board of Trustees regular meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move to the agenda, I'll just make a motion to excuse Ms. Ahrens from today's regular trustee meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we have an agenda before us. Do we have any modifications or additions?
Hearing no modifications or additions, I would move to approve the agenda for February 25th regular meeting.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the general ledger report in the amount of $330,774.16 for the February 13, 2019 payroll.
Second?
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
I make a motion to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $121,413.61 for warrants through February 21st, 2019.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to skip the Dartmouth minutes. Are we going to approve these or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a motion to approve February 11, 2019 regular meeting minutes and February 11, 2019 special meeting minutes.
Second?
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes. And now we'll move on to, we have a pre-scheduled speaker. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Board.
Yeah, come on up, name.
I'm Captain Ryan Williams. I'm here today to introduce to you my friend Caitlin McGee. She's a family friend of ours, and she approached me a couple of months ago about making a donation from a project that she wants to tell you about today to the fire department. So I want to introduce her and again thank her from the fire department family for what she's about to present to you, and I ask you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Good afternoon. My name is Caitlin McGee. Do you need my address?
Yes, please.
1417 Coolwood Court and Beavercreek 45434. I would like to thank you again for allowing me to speak today. This is on behalf of National Honor Society. I am a senior in that this year, and for my service project, my individual service project, I decided that I would like to donate reading materials to the fire department for public education purposes. So I went about this. I worked through the marching band. We wanted to do a service project for the summer, and I approached them with this idea. So we called it Take a Lead for Literacy, supporting literacy in the Greene County. By reading a certain number of minutes, 600 minutes in 2 weeks, they received donations from the people around them, and then we received that money for this project. So we have a total of $1,537 that I would like to put towards purchasing books for the 5 fire stations in Beavercreek. And I do have some examples here. Very small books that they would be able to pass out to children in a variety of reading levels that would be available to them to take home for the interest of just to introduce them to the idea of firefighting and things like that. I think that's all I had.
Wonderful. Well, we thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like a picture with the board before you?
Yes, please.
Board, I would recommend we just take a short break and have a picture. The acceptance is later on in the agenda, and I'm sure the fire chief is gonna recommend approval.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we'll take a short break.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Well, we need to teach you about the Explorer program. Well, we need a, you wanna kind of. That was a great project.
And if I grab a picture, would you mind if we put it on our township Facebook page? Do you mind if we put it on the Facebook page? That's fine. All right. I'd ask the board, but they're already on there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Nice job.
We'd like to get more information on the Explorer program.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
If you'd like to
Thank you.
stay around for a moment, I think we're just gonna go ahead and,
Move you up.
if it's okay with Mr. Roberts, we'll just go ahead and move that up on the agenda so we can make that approval now.
Yep, so,
Well, an official resolution is signed, but I would just do a simple motion on page 69 on number 1.
The hard copy's on its way.
That's fine. Almost there.
Takes forever. There we go.
Toward there.
go ahead, Mr.
All right.
Chris.
So I'll make a motion to accept, make a motion to approve the resolution to accept a donation on behalf of Miss Caitlin McGee and Beavercreek High School Honor Society in the amount of approximately $1,500.
Second.
Mr. Krebs?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
I would like to add that
Thank
this
you.
is for, I'd like to add that this is for public education for children's books to be passed out at the fire departments in
Excellent.
Beaver Creek area. Thank you.
Thanks for your hard work.
Good job. All right, any citizens desiring to speak? Seeing none, move on, no old business, no new business, and administrator, please.
Thank you, Board. First item is on page 4 is a real estate purchase contract. All the information starts on page 4 with Kostler Engineering's proposed .262 acres to be sold and sold to Mr. Pitstick.
I'll make a few comments on the contract appeared to be consistent with what we had discussed as far as moving forward. I'll reiterate the importance of, I think we need to review our process on how we establish a price for when we sell public property. In this case, if we look at the purchase price of the land itself, and compare that to the legal fee to prepare the document, to prepare the deed, and to record, it's essentially a wash, or very close. So, I would just suggest that in the future, we either have the buyer bear the burden of the legal fees to prepare the documents, or have them, somehow we need to build that into the price. So, because I think in this case, we're essentially selling this land for little to nothing, so.
Okay. I'll make those adjustments in the policy that I'll be bringing forward. There is a motion on page 14.
Has this draft contract been presented to the buyer?
Yes.
It has,
Yeah,
okay.
and no changes, no recommendations, he agreed with
Okay.
it, and so I'll have, if you vote on it today, I'll have 2 copies for to execute tomorrow.
And I guess all the more reason to essentially establish some standards as far as that we have a minimum price that has to cover at least our cost. So,
Hearing no other comments, I make a motion to approve the real estate agreement between Leslie Pistick and Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio, as presented, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
second,
Ms. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs,
yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. On page 15 of your packet is a resolution creating a conservation easement as a part of the grant through the Beaver Creek Wetlands Association. There is a sample conservation easement that we'll execute. We'll have to add a few numbers, parcel numbers. We do have to get one additional information from the Ohio Public Works Commission to execute it, but the resolution needs to go to the Ohio Public Works Commission before we finish everything else on the language to make sure it's correct and approved by the Ohio Public Works Commission as well.
And essentially the easement is required in order to, for the grant, or?
Correct.
Okay.
As a part of the grant, a requirement is to put a conservation easement, so it will stay as nature trails and return to its natural plants once we part of it. The township will still own the property. The Beaver Creek Wetlands Association will hold the easement on it.
Make a motion to approve a resolution granting a conservation easement for the Beaver Creek Wetlands Association as presented.
Second.
Mr. Krebs,
Yes.
Ms. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. All right, next item is the Sheriff's Office, and I would like to introduce Captain Sean Prawl to introduce our new sergeant.
Good afternoon, Board. Captain Sean Prawl with the Greene County Sheriff's Office. And as you're well aware, 2018 discussions began about providing further police coverage of the township. The township is growing. Discussions resulted in an agreement to add 1 sergeant. Sheriff's Office went through the testing process. Several members of the agency put in for a sergeant. There was a test, interview, and employment history review, and I'm proud to announce that Sergeant Chris Moore finished first on the test and was eager to start out here. And briefly, Sergeant Moore is going to be responsible for a lot of the direct communication from employees of Beaver Creek Township, the trustees, township administrator, and basically be able to streamline the needs and address any needs for the township. Chris Moore was very eager. Chris Moore has a long history with the Sheriff's Office. He was a detective for many years, solved many large cases, won awards as far back as from the state of Kentucky, I believe, for helping them solve a cold case homicide. He's a very good deputy, and you should be very proud to have him here representing the township. So without further ado, this is Sergeant Chris Moore. You all know him, but he will, from this point forward, he's made my job easier already. I can tell you that. He's able to directly communicate with the fire chief, Tim Parks, Alex, pretty much address any concerns, any issues that come up almost immediately, because this is his responsibility. It's not distracted as you had in the past with sergeants that supervise everything going on in the county. You now have a sergeant that's going to be keyed in on just what's going on in the township. So look forward to many years of success with Sergeant Chris Moore out here.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Great.
Chris?
Thank you.
Come on up, Chris.
Chris Moore with Greene County Sheriff's Office, but to thank the captain and the sheriff and the trustees for the opportunity. And when I left the detective section. I came out here. I've been out here for approximately 4 years, and that's how I've been by choice. I love it out here, and so I'm looking forward to continuing the relationships, building on the relationships with all of the employees here at the township, as well as the business owners and the residents, and just taking what we provide in law enforcement to even a better level, higher level.
Great. Great. Well, we're very happy that you're here. We congratulate you on getting your stripes and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
And with that, Board, on page 27 is the biweekly report. Are there any questions for Sergeant Moore?
I have 18 questions that I can answer, so, but I'll defer them till the next meeting.
But those 18 questions have 100 subsections.
Yeah.
No, congratulations. So,
Thank you.
as a business owner in the community and a resident, your crews do a great job. I witnessed it just the other evening. There was a couple walking their grandchildren through the neighborhood, and one of your officers essentially pulled up, flashed the lights for the kids, made them feel very comfortable. I observed it from a window, and it was neat to watch.
Good.
So the interaction was there.
Good.
The business owners appreciate what you do, and I think from a community standpoint, we couldn't be happier.
Thank you.
So,
Absolutely.
so the bar's been established. So I'd like to maintain it there.
Outstanding. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
I do have a question on the amount of extra patrol.
Mhm.
Was that you going back out, or we have another person went out to do the extra patrol? I see a large amount of extra patrol statistics here.
I think that what that is as my position started to come to light and the encouraging of other deputies, we also had a little bit of a realignment with our annual shift bid and who was assigned out here. I think what you're seeing as a result is just more documentation. So it's a matter that our patrols are out there. They're up patrolling the different areas, and so now it's just a matter of just throwing a quick extra patrol just to show that we were in a neighborhood, show that we were in a business area, and that we're just documenting it. No significant increase, no significant dispatches, except for just showing and documenting where we're at. Just a line item for you folks and the citizens, just to see that, hey, we're out here, this is where we're at, and just a proactive type approach.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good luck. Be safe.
Yes. Stay safe.
Thank you.
All right. HR.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the captain's job description with a few modifications that was presented before. This has been approved by legal. And if there are no questions, there's a motion on page 53.
I just have a comment. I appreciate the fact that you show the reds, what you're taking out, what you're putting in. It's much easier to be able to approve something when you know what the changes are from what it was. So,
Sure, you're welcome.
thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the captain's job description as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Krebs?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 54 is the HR biweekly activity report. Are there any questions?
I had none.
I had none.
I have none.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item's on page 56 of your packet is the biweekly activity report for the zoning department. I will mention that we've attended several meetings with Ohio University. They are moving forward with a lot of plans. In fact, we got some good news today of OU moving forward with a new building, and so we'll see that probably go out to the community for an RFP, followed by work with the zoning commission, and then eventually the Board of Township Trustees for site plan approval.
One question, and I failed to ask it at the event last week, I guess, or the week prior, I'm sorry, with regards to the new building or new buildings, plural, that may be coming to that campus that'll be fronting Indian Ripple. Have they considered having any, just to head off any challenges that we've seen with other developments or other projects in the community, have they considered having any type of, if nothing else, a public awareness type event where they invite some new neighbors across the street to at least be aware, or have they even considered that, I guess is the question. But a lot of public officials or elected officials are obviously well aware of what their plans are.
Well, there will be at least 2 public hearings on the topic, and that's
But they'll-
basically, that's our responsibility. Because the property is zoned PUD, and the zoning is done. It was done 12 years ago. But now there's part 2 of the PUD approval process, which is specific site plan approval, and that comes back. How to do that is specified in terrific detail in our zoning resolution. So it'll start with a public hearing before the zoning commission at the earliest possible date, which I believe will be April, first Thursday in April. Following their recommendation, whenever that should happen, if it happens at that meeting, fine. Following their recommendation, I will make a formal announcement to this board as to what that recommendation was, and then you'll establish a date for your own public hearing. So the public, and then, so notice will then be published in in the Dayton Daily News, as well as on our website and other places, and neighbors within 500 feet of any boundary of the property in question will receive those public notices in the mail. So there will be at least 2 opportunities for neighbors to come forward, and the general public as well.
And I guess what I was, so the 500 foot obviously may or may not extend to all of the
That's not
rivers.
very much, I
Right.
grant you. I'm not aware of any particular plans on the part of Ohio University to engage in any other publicity or engage the general public in meetings or gather feedback. I will ask that question when I correspond with them next.
Yeah, it was more of, and it wasn't even to be framed as a suggestion as much as just has anyone thought of it? Because sometimes when you receive the notice that you're within 500 feet of a proposed commercial development, you feel as though
It's already too late.
it's after the fact.
Right.
Versus if they're in a fantastic position to be able to explain the benefits of what they're doing for the community, and perhaps field some of those concerns in a out of zoning hearing type setting.
Right,
It was just no different than we've done with 35. We've done with other projects.
right.
They're a public entity of sorts, and I understand the dynamics. It was just,
Right.
it might be something they consider.
Well, I will certainly ask the question. Initially, I think Mr. Zahariaf and I were both expecting such a process to take place maybe 2 years ago, and the powers that be at the university moved in a different direction with regard to the public portion of their plans. But that doesn't obviate the need for some engagement with the public, so I think it's a worthy question to ask them.
In fact, from what I've seen, it may be an easier sell than what was contemplated a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as invasive, or perceived invasive.
Well, and also I concur on that comment, Mr. Kress, when you add in the fact, the history, and they bring in the history of the property with SRL and, the whole story. It's kind of just a continuation of really what's been, that property's been being used for decades.
The spirit of the
The
gift,
spirit of it, yeah, absolutely. The story in and of itself.
just a notion.
Well, I think one other thing we can do to be proactive is explain what's going on a little bit in the In Touch, so that all the citizens know what's happening with Ohio University and the Russ Research Center. I think the more education we give our people, I think everybody would embrace that
And in
concept.
fact, there is a lot going on behind the scenes, and And if people were aware of that, I think it would be good news to most of the members of the community. For example, we had not just the meeting with the Ohio Township Association last week, which was very favorably received by those in attendance. But then last week, on Thursday, we gathered all the local forces that either have authority over the site plan, people whom I will engage in the review process for the site plans themselves, in a meeting, and I think that was really helpful to the planners, to the university team, in terms of both understanding the status quo of the property and the buildings on the site now, but also understanding what sort of hoops they're going to need to jump through because they want to do so quickly. But then that same day, the same afternoon, we had the Voinovich School from Ohio University in town in the same building, unveiling plans to make available a GIS-based system for data collection and management of watersheds in the Dayton region, the upper Miami, the lower Miami, and the little Miami River, all the entire watersheds all to be included, and to benefit from data analysis, water quality improvements. As you may remember, Greene County is now in the, shall I say, crosshairs of the EPA for the way we manage and enforce the National Pollution Discharge Elimination Standards that are now 15 years old. But we have apparently, as not just Beavercreek Township, the entire county, the EPA has come to the view that we haven't done as much by way of enforcement as we might have, especially with regards to water quality. Well, without any knowledge of that threat that we're under, here comes the Voinovich School, another segment of the university. And what they're offering is going to help tremendously in the development of a local protocol for managing water quality in threatened streams and watersheds in this area. I'm delighted to see another unit of the university involved at Russ, other than the engineering school. The Voinovich School of Public Affairs and Policy has a Department of Environmental Programming, and they're the ones spearheading this. My point is that, and sorry this took so long to explain that, but my point is that I think that's a snippet of information that the public will be pleased to hear. And not just the immediate neighbors, but the entire, anybody who cares about the quality of our rivers in the greater Dayton region is going to think that this is good news.
Well, I think, like I said, if it's approached as a community engagement, that
Right.
it's not necessarily a community input or
Right.
session, but an open house and engagement, beyond the engagement with the neighbors, the local neighbors, and the community awareness. It's nice to know what a naysayer might have to say before you're standing at the podium and have to answer it on the spot.
Right.
So you may not be able to please everyone, but it's
You
nice to,
think?
it's nice to know what
Right.
the obstacles could be.
Exactly.
So just a suggestion.
Exactly. Thank you.
And also, Ed, I wanna just publicly say at every turn, OU has been so, positive and impressed with your and Mr. Zaharias' works and the staff of the township. And, I really believe that the progress we're making there is in no small part thanks to the wonderful job you guys have done and the bridges you have built there. They've even said they've not experienced this anywhere else.
Well, thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
I agree totally. Your name keeps coming up on how well you're giving them information, you're discussing things with them, providing a lot of insight. and I know it takes a lot out of you, so thank you so much for all that you've been doing with this project.
Well, thank you, but do know that without the confidence that comes from knowing that our trustees have our back and support us in what we do, that wouldn't be the case if we felt we had to check with everything we were saying. But Mr. Zahariev and I both know that you've got our backs and that you're supporting us. And that has made a difference with the university in terms of their confidence moving forward and investing as much as they're going to invest in this community. I mean, we're now talking in the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment in Beavercreek Township. And even we didn't know that was going to be the result at the time. But we couldn't have made it work as well for the university if we didn't know that you were behind us making that possible. So thank you.
Well, it's not just Beavercreek Township. What's going on there is going to benefit our entire region. It's going to benefit Wright Pat. It's going to benefit Beavercreek High School, Carroll High School. It's going to benefit everybody. You know, it's a positive all the way around. So keep up the good work there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, IT.
Thank you, Board. On page 61 of your packet is the biweekly report for IT. Are there any questions?
I have no questions.
I had none.
Thank you, Board. Next item under the road department is a repair for the radiator on ladder 61. Budget justifications on page 64, and Mr. Parks is here to answer any questions.
Kids yesterday didn't poke a hole in it, did they?
No. Just wear and tear. And actually, it's for a replacement. And our goal is, when we get it, the new one in and get it out, and get it back in service quicker. But to take the old one, send it out for evaluation like we've done in the past with the engines. If it can be repaired, we'll repair it, place it in stock, and we'll have it there for the next time.
Hearing no other comments or questions, I make a motion to approve purchase request 9695 to All American Fire Equipment for a radiator plus shipping in the amount not to exceed $4,600 and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Krebs?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is lift repairs purchase request for our maintenance bay in the road department. Budget justification starts on page 64 with a motion on page 65.
This is auto equipment. I make a motion to approve purchase request 9696 to Auto Equipment for annual inspection and repair in an amount not to exceed $4,000 and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Krebs?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. On page 68, I apologize, is the biweekly report for the road department. Are there any questions?
You've been busy.
It is that time of year. At least we're gonna catch some hopefully dry weather here, and we can let the Indians out of the barn, because they're getting stir crazy.
Do you sharpen your own chainsaw blades or do you send them out
We sharpen our own.
after this weekend?
And fortunately enough, with some of the preventive stuff we do by going out and trimming, and I think we went and picked a few limbs up this morning, and that was it on our part.
Well, no, the one storm that came through helped a lot earlier.
The ice storm.
Yeah, and actually for the ice storm, we had very
Not too
few.
bad. Yeah. Good.
It wasn't, I had a few phone calls, but they were all on county and city roads that I had to forward off.
Yeah.
Very good.
As far as ours, we were in good
I have
shape.
no other questions.
I had nothing.
Thank you so
Good
much.
job,
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. First item we already took care of, which was the acceptance of the donated children's books. Second item on the fire department is a purchase request for online continuing education. Budget justification starts on page 69. Fire chief's here to answer any questions. And there's a motion on page 70.
I don't have any questions.
I'm done.
I make a motion then to approve purchase request 09481 to Health and Safety Institute for 81 online training subscriptions in the amount of $3,163.86, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Krebs?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item is purchase request for blue card instructors, equipment, and program renewal. Budget justification starts on page 70, with a motion on page, two motions, I apologize, on page 72.
The $17,428 that you're asking us to approve is the annual cost, and that's a recurring annual cost.
The part of it is annual, which is trying to break it on my head real quick. About 4,000 of that is annual, and then 13.5 of that is the instructor cost, and that is an every 3-year cost. And it is part of our succession planning. We have one instructor who's definitely going out at the end of this year, Chief Young. We have another who is going out before the end of the next 3 years will be up, which is Captain Brewer. And so we're looking to bring in 3 additional instructors, so we'll have some overlap with the current instructors, and then we'll have all 3 on the other side of those retirements going forward. And that investment of 13.5 is what allows us to save about $10,000 a year in not having another company or another agency come up and perform the training for us. So the 13.5 over 3 years is offset by 10 a year, so it offsets the 30,000.
And do we prepay the $13.5 in advance for all 3 years, or do they bill us each year?
Yes, it's because it is the cost of sending them and getting them the training. And actually, in this case, we're hosting the training here, so we'll be saving on the travel and meeting expenses related to that. And so it is the tuition fee for them to get their training, and it does include the iPad as described. It's a little bit confusing, but they get the iPad as part of that program because it comes preloaded with all this training scenarios and everything. So that allows us to then take some of the hardware costs back out of it.
Okay. So the training will be completed in the first year, and then they don't need to be recertified or retrained until 3 years later?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not they're not coming in providing a service once a year for 3 years?
That is correct. We
Okay.
get the one-time training probably in September or November, I can't recall which they said, of this year. And then once that training is complete, you're correct, we are done with that training for 3 years.
Okay.
Then we would obviously not pay the expense until the training class happens, but because we need the registration and the continuing ed for the other pieces, and it's a complete package, we're bringing the entire thing to the board now. And so we'll have an outstanding PO for the training services for the instructors class that will be paid out, like I said, I think it's September this year.
Okay. And the renewal portion essentially is software or site license?
A combination of the individual licensing and software license, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we just recently, all of us had to go through the recertification process as well.
Well, all of first generation.
First generation, not the much, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, not the ones we're about to
Yeah,
hire.
we have about 3 generations because we did senior staff, and then we did company officers, and then we did firefighters. So all of senior staff is now recertified, and then the officers will recertify next, and the firefighters will recertify next, and that's part of the ongoing program, and the instructors do support that.
Okay. And just a refresher, the benefit to the community for us to be Blue Card certified?
It gives us a national standard that we're doing all of our incident management to. So incident management is a state requirement for fire departments to have an incident management system in place. For years, we had a homegrown system that worked well for us, but it didn't meet any national standard or best practice, or did not specifically meet those standards or best practices. This does, it's nationally recognized, and it is one that a number of our neighbors, for example, Kettering and Riverside, both actively use. And so we share common terminologies, common tactics, common standards when we operate with them. There is talk of other agencies in Greene County going to it, but they have not yet, and Wright Pat is looking to go to it as well. So we are supporting the agencies who are in it currently, that is Riverside and Kettering, and we are going to offer our support to any of the other agencies that come on board, so that from our perspective, it's similar to NIMS, but instead of for regional, state, national level disasters, kind of this type 1, 2, and 3, this is for our type 4 and 5, our local residential structure fire, or maybe a multi-alarm commercial fire or something like that.
Okay.
When we offer it to other jurisdictions, can we charge them and get some revenue back?
Yes, ma'am, we do, and I don't recall the cost, I should have looked it up. I don't recall the cost off the top of my head. We do not charge enough to make it, it's not a profit.
No, but reimbursement is.
But it does cover our own expenses, and it is cheaper for our mutual aid neighbors to do it through us, because we're not looking to make a profit. So they're actually getting less expensive training, and we are offsetting our costs.
Good, that's what I like.
And it is a service that we only provide our mutual aid partners. So again, we're not looking to advertise this out and go statewide or anything like that. We do our immediate neighbors who are going to come and respond with us, and it gives us an opportunity to train with them just on a different level. So we do a lot of training with them on all manner of things. This is just another way for us to include incident command as one of those joint training efforts.
I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 09901 to Across the Street Productions for Blue Card annual renewal and 3 new instructors in the amount of $17,428.40, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
A second.
Mr. Krebs?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second motion associated with it?
I make a motion to approve purchase request 09902 to PNC Amazon for the 3 new iPad covers in the amount of not to exceed $60, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Krebs?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace, or Mr. Roberts, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And again, that second one is not something that would typically come before the board, but because it is part of a larger package greater than 25.
You would think for $17,428.40 they would have provided the covers.
Yeah, really.
Maybe next time we can ask that.
In the aspect of training, did you ever contact Wright Pat on some of their training in that C41 that I had mentioned at the training exercises?
Yeah, I don't recall what the answer was. Chief Young, as a matter of fact, we've talked to Wright Pat for a number of things, including using their training towers and things like that. I'll follow up.
Because that's a fantastic experience for our firefighters to be, even though we don't do things in planes, to be in a plane and have it moving, and they rumble and make noises and lightning strikes, and they have like 30 dummies that they work on it and it's just in case something would happen at Wright Pat that we would be called out.
Yes.
That would be a great experience for our people.
Yeah, he's looking into it as part of, so as we're doing accreditation, one of the sections of accreditation is for aircraft fire and rescue. And even with Greene County Airport, it's not a requirement for us or for the airport for their FAA licensing, but obviously the hazards are there, and so we're trying to familiarize ourselves and start working towards those practices. And I know that he's been talking to Wright Pat for a number of aviation issues, and that is one of them. I just don't recall if they talked about scheduling something specifically, or if it's something that we'll be
Let me know about
looking
that.
to do later on.
And then on the blue card, will we be sharing some of that information with Wright Pat?
Yeah, matter of fact, I've been in touch with their chief a number of times. They're trying to get it approved through whatever their budgeting process is over there to get their staff certified in Blue Card as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we've got a great working relationship with Wright Pat, so we do as much with them as we can.
Good.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 72, is a purchase request for the strategic planning service. Something we discussed at the budget meetings, as well as some of the discussions were related to the upcoming levy as well. Chief is here to answer any questions.
Yeah, and I'll start off with this particular request really was born out of our KETA class. So we hosted the KETA class, which is the accreditation class, had a number of our staff there, and they went discussing with the instructors, the different services that SIPSI has to offer, one of the things that came up is that they do offer strategic planning services. Originally, it's something that we were looking at, do we farm it out to somebody or do we do it in-house? And I had been, quite frankly, leaning towards in-house until we had this conversation. As a result of the conversation and talking with the folks, both in terms of the services they offer and specifically the training. So they take you through it with the guidance to allow you to be able to do it yourself and for future iterations, but also the timeliness. They have a turnaround of 60, no more than 90 days for strategic planning. And obviously with us, with our long-term funding cycle coming up and wanting to make sure that our levy is right sized for the future, having this done in the timeline to be able to use it for our financial planning purposes makes a lot of sense. And so that's why the request is here. It is a service that, or it is a function that we could do ourselves, but none of us have done it. A number of us have participated in the past, not only in our own strategic plan, the 2010 plan, but other jurisdictions and agencies' plans as external stakeholders. But none of us have done it ourselves. And so obviously there's a little bit of a risk when you do it yourself for A, getting it done and doing it right, but then B, how long does it take? And again, with the time function that we have this year with wanting to get a levy on for November, we'd like to be able to take advantage of this and have that information to make sure that our long-term funding strategy matches our strategic plan so that the funding matches up with those goals and objectives that we're looking at. So that's the idea behind this, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions you have.
I had several questions. One, I didn't see a copy in our packet of the Ohio Fire Chief's quote. I read your comments, but I still would have liked to have seen a copy of that.
I can get a copy for you. We do have it. Because of the size of the packets, I usually only include the one that we're proposing, but I will give you a copy of the additional. Fundamentally, so.
I read your thing that they were taking longer and everything.
It's not substantially longer, but it is longer, and they don't, SIPSI does it along with the specific accreditation guidelines, whereas most of the pieces and parts are probably the same, but Ohio Fire Chiefs doesn't tailor it to the accreditation process. So it's a little bit, I was gonna say quality, it's really not a quality, as in I don't think Ohio Fire Chiefs would be a lesser quality, but it's not guaranteed to line up with the accreditation process where SIPSI completely designs it to be fully incorporated into the accreditation
The other
process.
part I had, Chief, is that there's strategic planning and then there's strategic planning with the accreditation. And I get that and I get your explanation. But $16,800, that's a lot of money to spend on instructors to come in when we do all this other education. And I just wonder if we have gone out to, we have Wright State, we have UD, they have departments that do strategic planning. And that if we gave them a donation of some money, they would be ecstatic. And then we can look into a small portion of how that strategic planning that they helped us with could go along with our accreditation. But I have a real problem with this amount of money being spent on this organization. That's my comment. I just think that we have in our community, we have relationships and people there that's what they do for a living all the time is strategic planning. And being with the city of Dayton and the city of Beavercreek, we called in resources that helped us for free. And to spend that much money in the township for that, it's over the top for me.
I actually agree with your approach. I went through ISO 17025 and ISO 2000 for manufacturing accreditation, and made the mistake of attempting to do it with in-house resources. Learned after spending more money than it ultimately would have spent to have a consultant come in essentially and set us up and essentially train the trainer. So I'm a big proponent of train the trainer with the right training. You have to have the right group that do that, essentially consulting for you and build the model, teach you how to maintain it, and then take it from there. It's difficult to understand what the internal cost would be compared to the external. because there's a direct correlation to if you take resources and put them on this project, there's an opportunity cost of what other things they could be working on or should be working on. So there are folks in the community that I've spoken to that will argue that why do you even need to do a strategic plan? You're going to put it in a binder and put it on a shelf and leave it there. And so there's that thought process that's out there based on, and I expressed this during the budget hearings a couple of years in a row, that from an accreditation standpoint, you have to be careful the path you head down, because it can be a costly one to maintain. To be accredited for accreditation's sake is a waste of money. So, but from the approach standpoint, based on personal experience, if this is the group that can get you to the finish line, and it aligns with the strategic plan and the accreditation, that if it aligns those two so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, then I would support this. So I'll make a motion. We can continue discussion. I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 09832 to Center for Public Safety Excellence for strategic planning services in the amount of $16,800, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Discussion, and I see both sides of this coin, but as I reviewed this, I absolutely followed your logic of why you presented this path. And then, as I'm reading through this too, I also am relying on historical facts of how you present things, why you present them, and the end result always being, for the most part, in our best interest. So, I logically followed it, and I didn't see anything. I originally looked at the price first, and then I read through everything, but then I tracked right along with it. So.
And I guess my other comment would be that we didn't even check to see what kind of resources in our community at Wright State or UD were available.
And a couple thoughts, trying to tie it all together. I do agree with where you're coming from, Ms. Walsh, and the amount, it is large, and it's not something that I brought to the board lightly, obviously. The local resources are something that if we do end up doing it ourselves in-house, then we would reach out for. So I've worked both with my MPA in both Wright State and in University of Dayton, so I know generally what they have available and the quality of services that they have to offer. And so if we do it ourselves, they would be, and matter of fact, we use Wright State, for example, for our surveys that we perform, because they have high quality that they offer there. So we've worked with them in the past. My biggest concern, and the reason this particular recommendation and the higher, obviously, recommendation, even between Ohio Fire Chiefs and SIPC, is the timeliness and being able to tie not only the accreditation process, which I think is important, but the timeliness with our funding cycle. So what I want to do is give you, the board, the most information I have for where we need to be from now to 2019 and what the funding requirements will be to get there. And I have some broad strokes, so if we wanted to take some time, I could kind of lay out the general things. And a lot of it is derived from the NOVAC study and then the subsequent standards of cover that we performed, which obviously the board has continued to support as we've gone along, which is the hiring and the stations and those things. But the strategic planning, I think, will give us a disciplined way of approaching all the other issues that those two things either talked about generally and we need to discuss specifically, or that may get left out of the conversation if we're not careful, because we're focused in on the growth in the areas that are right in front of us, but we may miss other things that are perhaps industry best practices, for example, that we haven't had impact us yet, or are things like airport that we're not familiar with that we know are going to be growing and developing and may hit within this time period. And I think the process of bringing in an outsider lends some, well, you get the validity that having an outsider helping perform it does, but again, it does it in a timely fashion that allows us to tie the funding, the accreditation, and the plan together. And to Mr. Kretz's point, you're absolutely right. The nice thing, and I've said this from the beginning for accreditation is more about the process for us as opposed to the results. Now, I think the results is fully within our capability of getting, and I think would be a benefit overall to the community. But it in and of itself isn't the goal. The goal is to develop the processes, make sure we're meeting those best standards, best practices for the community that's paying a premium for our service. And obviously, we want to provide the best service that we can. And a big part of that is understanding what those are and making sure that we're meeting those requirements as we go. So, because of that, the accreditation process does not allow you to put the thing on the shelf anymore. Or you do, but it's at your very peril. After 3 or 5 years, when you open it back up, you find that you have more work to do than if you just followed it the entire time. So, hopefully I addressed all your points. Just trying to keep track of them.
Sure. So, no other discussion? Please call.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
No.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. And Ms. Wallace, we will continue to work with them in other areas, and as we revisit even the strategic plan for future iterations, our intent is not to go back to SIPSI for a second growth, so we will be working with locals for those as well.
Yeah, I
We'll
wasn't
continue
really
to look for
looking
those
at
opportunities.
you doing it in-house. I mean, but I thought that out-house would be, Wright State or UD would be a more logical concept for strategic planning. And then subcontract with SIPSI on the part of accreditation, which could have lowered our costs. That was my point.
And, I mean, to follow on that, I agree, and the township has a good history, at least in the 5 years that I've been here, of working with Wright State from a planning and zoning standpoint and with others. But when I look at, you know, you can do simple math and determine what our hourly rate internally is. I just did it. And you multiply that by 100 hours to work with, because every time we have used grad students, at least in the history that I've been here, it involves Mr. Zaharieff, it involves Mr. Amrine, it involves your group, and there is an internal cost. And so the fast track, we need this information ultimately in a fast track. That's part, I think, of the urgency to get it done. But there's also my concern of paying to do it twice, or paying to when you have the opportunity to align it from day one. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item's on page 75 is the biweekly activity report. Are there any questions?
I had none.
I have none.
With the donation, do we want to do the formal resolution? We did a motion already.
It was as presented,
Okay,
so
as
the resolution's fine.
And I was
This is
going
the
to make
resolution.
a copy of
You already did that.
for Ms. McGee provided to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Board. That's all I
And then
have.
should we consider a thank you for her too?
Sure.
I'll make sure that gets done.
Great. Thank you.
And we'll see you at
Proclamation.
4 o'clock. We're still good for that.
We're still good for
We're
that,
still good for that?
as long as you're good for that.
I won't be here.
Thank you, Chief. Legal? Fiscal?
We have 3 items. We would like your approval of the BHM invoice. It's for $8,000. That's for the regular audit portion. There has been some discussion about the additional scope of work that BHM provided, but being they didn't present the township with a change order for those additional services, they're not invoicing the township for that. So this is just for
Good.
the
Good.
regular audit. So if we could have a motion to approve the payment of the invoice. We already have the purchase order, but if there was discussion before about wanting to actually approve payment.
Is this paid, do we pay this to the auditor, or do we pay this to BHM
We pay it to BHM.
directly? Okay. Is there an invoice number?
Yeah, there's no invoice number on
There's
here.
a project number.
Project number.
Okay, that's what I was just looking for, some type of reference to tie it back. I saw an invoice.
Top left.
There is no number there. It says
There was-
There's a
IPA.
project number right here.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the invoice to BHM CPA Group for project number 32049 GREE-F1217 in the amount of $8,000, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board where needed.
I second that motion.
With discussion, it's just 32D is in Delta. Just one little correction.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Please call.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of establishing a fund for the SAFER grant. We have a resolution for that. This would be establishing Fund 2951.
Any questions?
I had none.
I'll make a motion to establish a resolution to approve the establishment of the Fund 2951 for the Fire Department 2017 SAFER Grant,
Just as presented.
as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you. The second SAFER grant resolution is for the transfer of funds to start paying the firefighters that we hired. They were on the payroll that we are paying on Wednesday, the February 27th pay period.
Sure. Make a motion to approve resolution approving the transfer of funds into Fund 2951 for the Fire Department's 2017 SAFER grant,
Second that motion?
Mr. Kretz?
as presented, sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else from fiscal?
That is it.
All right, with that, we'll move on to our regional meeting recap. MVRPC,
There was no meeting.
TAC,
That meeting conflicted with the Russ meeting we had, so I wasn't able to attend the TAC meeting this month.
okay. Regional planning meeting was canceled. It'll be, we had no cases. We know health, there's nothing. Anything to report, Mr. Zaharieff, with regards to the city manager and school board?
Currently, the city manager, the superintendent, and myself are sitting on the committee to evaluate for the schools what direction they should go on facilities. This committee includes citizens, parents, students as well, faculty from the schools, and administrators. Our job is to hear the input from the residents and put something together for a recommendation to Beavercreek School Board. So we are discussing everything from the current facilities to potentially additions to potentially building a new high school. These are all things that are concerns for the immediate needs for the community, school district, as well as some future needs as well. City manager and I will be meeting Wednesday for a monthly meeting. It was canceled last month because I attended the OTA conference. And we have no meeting scheduled for the Right Pat Restoration Advisory Board.
Greene County Township Association. I think we all were in attendance at the most recent meeting that sponsored by OU, and the presentation and the information there was amazing what we learned, and every day we keep learning more and more of how the township and all our community partners in our region are going to benefit from this partnership with OU. So I was personally I was amazed with the number of one-off things going there, the first in the world, the research that's being done. So,
On investment oversight, we had requested that the fiscal officer reach out to Morgan Stanley. Do you have any update on that? When he might be available to come in?
I'm not sure, but I'll follow up on that for you.
Okay. I think we'd like to have that at the next meeting, or by the second meeting in March, if that's possible.
Great, thank you.
please.
Thank you.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to consider compensation of a public employee.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes,
Thank you.
at 2:06. Good afternoon. It is 3:11. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Or recess, sorry,
Yeah,
until
we
4
have
o'clock.
hiring.
Motion to recess until 4 o'clock.
You don't need a motion, you just say we're gonna recess till 4 o'clock.
Either way.
We'll stand in recess till 4 for the firefighter.
Firefighter.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you. At 3:11. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4 o'clock, and we will call our meeting back to order. We'll exit recess, and we will proceed with Chief Grand News.
Thank you, Board, for taking your time to meet with us again today. So it is my honor to recommend hiring to the position of firefighter 2 additional members who demonstrate the knowledge and skills that exemplify the professionalism and pride of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department and our commitment to the citizens of Beavercreek. The position of firefighter is one rich in tradition, pride, and honor, not only in the fire service, but society as a whole. The firefighter is a role model and the person others turn to in a time of crisis. Here in the Beavercreek Township Fire Department, we expect our firefighters to be among the best trained and highly proficient professionals serving the members of our community with integrity, pride, and compassion. Our firefighters are most often the first impression we make as an organization. Therefore, we do not take lightly the responsibility we hold with a 25 to 30-year commitment to the community, fire department, or individual hired as a career firefighter. Today, I'm recommending to you that we hire Ryan Tucker and Justin Hart to the position of firefighter. Ryan Tucker is from Pickle, Ohio, and knew from a young age that he wanted to follow in his grandfather's footsteps and become a firefighter. He earned his Fire Level 2 and EMT Basic certifications from Sinclair Community College. Ryan began his career with Beavercreek Township Fire Department as a part-timer in 2006 until he was offered a full-time position with the Dayton Fire Department in 2013. In his free time, he enjoys watching his son play sports, makes future plans with his fiancée, fishing, and hanging out with family and friends. He's looking forward to being back here in Beavercreek where he began and becoming a contributing member of the Beavercreek community. Justin Hart is from Huber Heights, Ohio, and graduated from William High School in 2011. He was in restaurant management before changing careers. Justin attended the Fire Academy at Sinclair Community College, and he's currently a Level 2 firefighter and paramedic. He worked at Trotwood, Inglewood, and Union Fire Departments part-time for about 3 years before joining the Springfield Fire Department as a full-time firefighter. Justin plans to enroll at Columbia Southern University to complete his associate's degree in fire science technology. In his spare time, Justin coaches a youth basketball team in Huber Heights, plays sports, and goes fishing. He's excited for the opportunity to work for Beavercreek Township Fire Department and hopes for a long career here. Board, I recommend that we hire Ryan Tucker and Justin Hart as career firefighters.
Thank you, Chief. Welcome. We've got a couple procedural things we're gonna go through here. We'll have a resolution, then you'll have your oath administered, and then we'll have some celebrations, some pictures. And I truly want to thank you for your choice to dedicate yourselves to a career of service above self. And this room is filled with brothers and sisters that will always be there to support you, as we will. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the gavel to Ms. Wallace. And it is truly my great high honor today to offer the following resolution for approval hiring 2 career firefighters. Whereas the Ohio Revised Code 505.38A requires the Board of Township Trustees in each township with a fire department to provide for the employment of firefighters as it considers best. And whereas the township has been awarded a staffing for adequate fire and emergency response, also known as SAFER grant, which provides partial funding for the employment of 9 SAFER grant funded positions. And whereas Resolution 2019-035 passed by the board on February 11th, 2019, authorized a staffing level of 58 sworn firefighters. And whereas the fire department is currently only staffed with 56 sworn firefighters, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Beavercreek Township Trustees hereby hire the following individuals as full-time sworn firefighters and emergency medical technicians with contractual years of service beginning on March 11th, 2019, at the prescribed rate of pay and benefits in accordance with the Beavercreek Professional Firefighters Collective Bargaining Agreement. Ryan F. Tucker, EMT Basic, Pay Step A, and Justin T. Hart, Paramedic, Pay Step A. Further be it resolved that the conditions of employment of these firefighters hired pursuant to the SAFER grant are consistent with those included in their individual offer letters, and further be it resolved that any transferred service credit in accordance with Article 31 of the current collective bargaining agreement does not count as years of service for the calculation of Article 12, Section 7, longevity. And further be it resolved that all formal actions of the Board of Trustees concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution are being adopted at a duly called and authorized open meeting of the Board of Trustees on the date set forth above, such meeting being duly called pursuant to and in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Second.
So moved. Well, okay.
You made the motion.
No, I made the motion.
Mr. Roberts made the motion, I seconded.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. No?
Thank you, Board. And I believe, have you guys signed your paperwork yet? Okay.
Yes.
So then we can vote.
Ryan, Ryan, please step up. Mr. Kretz will meet you by the flags.
Ready? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Ryan F. Tucker,
I, Ryan M. Tucker,
being duly sworn,
duly sworn,
say that I will support
say that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of firefighter
the firefighter
of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department,
of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department,
Greentown.
Greentown.
Sign right there. Great. Get you a copy of that.
The normal cues.
There we go.
That's so sweet.
There you go. I love it. Justin, if you'll
Justin?
join Miss Wallace.
sworn,
duly sworn,
say that I will support
say that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of firefighter of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department
of firefighter of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department
of Greene County.
of Greene County.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your signature right there. We'll get your copy. Ready?
Ms. Walsh, would you like to join us?
I would love to. Hope you wear this on, and safety and good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you, board. That's all the business I have for you today.
Well, that, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I want to make a comment.
Go for it.
Go ahead, go right ahead, Ms. Waltz.
Gentlemen, Justin and Ryan, I want you to stand up and turn around, please. These are your new family, the Beavercreek Fire Department. They came here today to, in their blues and then on duty to make sure that they were supporting you in this endeavor for your new hiring. They're here for you to train, to talk to, and be supportive of. And your family there is here for you too. So please acknowledge that and remember this day that they are all here for you, and we're here for you too as Beavercreek Township. Thank you so much.
You go ahead and sit down.
Just to your families, grandparents, parents, brothers, children, just so you know, and I've said this at other hirings, but it's true that you're coming to work essentially in a township where the residents of Beavercreek, the greater Beavercreek community, they absolutely adore their firefighters. They think the world of you. And so the bar has been set very high by everybody else in the room that is in part of this department and employees of the township. And so we ask that you honor that and you respect that, and that you understand that the community is behind you, the trustees are behind you, staff is behind you, and management is behind you. So we're here for you when you need us, and maintain that bar as high as you can. Thank you.
Congratulations again. I welcomed you in the beginning, so we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.